We are in the English countryside, Yorkshire, England. And we're right by the bridge here, which we're going to cross, going to a little village called Stalling Busk. Behind me is a little village called Marset. And we're going to talk about this route between Marset and Stalling Busk, because there's something very historical going on. Boy, it must be fun to be a sheep, right? They're having a good time here. Lots of sheep here, folks. And lots of these stone walls. And in places there's hedges. And the hedges are trimmed perfectly. English style. Oh, look at that. We have the Royal Air Force. What do you know? They knew we were coming. Salute to you, boys. Not a care in the world, right? So Marset is on this side of the bridge out that way. And Stalling Busk is way up there. So this is the road that they would go from little tiny Marset, and then we're going back to the medieval days. And they would walk this road. Well, among other things, you'd have to get to the place where there's consecrated ground to bury your dead, because you didn't want to just bury them. And that's where the consecrated ground is, St. Matthew's, in Stalling Busk. So they'd have to walk a road like this, and it's not just this, remember, medieval times, this was a trail. This wasn't a road. And there were probably other trails that they had to walk, and it was a long walk, and it was uphill, and it's very tiring. How did you carry a coffin so far without stopping? Now, you can't put the coffin on the ground. That we know. Why? Well, I'm going to talk about that. Very specific reason. Well, along these roads, they would have what's called a corpse stone. And that's what we're going to talk about, where you could rest legally for the spirits. It wouldn't upset them like it would if you put them on the ground. So going back to Marset here, interesting history. There are only, 2 or 3 farms there. It was first recorded in 1283 as Morisset, which is from the Old Norse term meaning the shieling. And a shieling is one of those stone wall huts with the thatched roofs. Up in Scotland, in the pastures, high in the hills. The man's name, More, from Morisset, is Gaelic, nicknamed, translated to mean, well, originally, an ant. A-N-T, not A-U-N-T, like the insect. The hamlet here is very small, and it does have a chapel, a Methodist chapel, from 1897. But we're going to go back to medieval times now and talk about this trail, this medieval trail. And a lot of the rocks that you see here, the boulders, were probably sitting just like this from those days. In those days, the essence of the deep-rooted spirit lore was that spirits of one kind or another, talking about spirits of the dead, phantasms of the living, wraiths, or nature entities like fairies, they would move through the physical landscape along special routes. And they believed that in their ideal and pristine form, these routes were conceived of being straight lines with no bends or turns. You didn't want to confuse the spirits or the fairies. On the opposite side, if it was convoluted or nonlinear, it would hinder their movements. Like labyrinths and mazes, those would be the worst. So they try to make these roads as straight as possible. They tried. Go through mountains and valleys, even through marshes. They would always keep this in mind. When intersecting towns, it was believed that the spirits would pass by the houses closely, or actually go right through them. So what are these coffin stones? Well, they would place these large boulders strategically on the side of the road here among these other stones. The purpose was, so it was a rest stop. You could put the body, the corpse down on the stone without putting it on the ground, which meant that the spirit, because if you put it on the ground, they believed that the spirit would just like poof, fly away and be lost forever, wandering for eternity. So they'd find a place and they would put a flat, giant boulder, just like this one. And this, can't say for sure, but most likely was, in the day, a corpse stone. Or a coffin stone, if you will. Look how flat that is. It's perfectly flat. And I would say, as I look at it, in size, it's probably from here to here, about 4.5 feet, and from here to there is a good 6 feet. So this is probably a good example of what was a corpse stone. So there it is, and there are more around here on the paths. Now, what I think is notable and almost funny, well, to start, they would, when they rest here, they would have food. And sometimes they'd also have drink. Sometimes they would celebrate. Sometimes they would celebrate too much. And sometimes they would forget or lose the corpse, especially if it was snowing. There was a lot of snow. They'd be like, that was recorded. You can believe it. Yeah. So just imagine looking at this, how many bodies sat on here in medieval times. Interesting. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drive. I'm not going to walk this road. We've got about 2 or 3 miles to go. It's a big lake here, recreational area. Pretty cool. But we are going to drive to Stalling Busk. And Stalling Busk is way up on the opposite side of this lake. And it's like, up there somewhere. And we're going to go find it. All right, let's go. All right, we are installing Busk. Quaint little hamlet. Home farm, B&B. Free range eggs for sale. Let's go. Beautiful. Look at this little medieval hamlet. And there are ruins everywhere. Look at that. Hey, where's the red phone booth? So this is St. Matthew, Stalling Busk Parish Church, and it's like a code to open, but I think it looks open. Maybe that's to get in the church, which we really don't want to do. There we go. Just want to see the outside. Well, see the inside, see if it's open. And there is one memorial here, monument. Several names. I'm betting these are war. In memory of the men, Radelside, who died in the service of their king and country in the Great War, 1914-1919. William Fawcett Thomas Hodgson, Herbert Metcalf, and Thomas Outhwaite. Yeah, this is old. I want you to look up at the roof tiles. They're pretty big. Yeah, those are very old. And the stonework, very small little church here, tiny. Oh, just looking for details here. The glass. I don't know what that symbol is. A lantern. Well, I was not expecting to go inside. There's Hawes. We passed through there. I left a post on Hawes, Neat Village. It is open. Let's have a quick look inside. I've learned that now. You turn them sideways. Oh, look at auto lights. Beautiful. Look at this. The rose window up there. Six pews. I on each side, rows, 6 rows. Very simple. Look at the limestone, the arch, Gothic. Look at these trusses, beautiful truss work. I've seen this like when we saw Sarah Hare, the coat of arms, these memorials. John Thwaite, gentleman, 1808. You can pause here. Well, I'm glad we were able to get in, and there's the man, right? All right, let's take a look outside. Some more details of the church. Imagine the stone wall here you're looking at, hundreds and hundreds of years old. But that's it. This wall is tightly encircling this small church. Oh, look at the church bell up there. Neat little detail. Who's barking at me? I hear him, but I don't see him. Yeah, there's nothing much here on the way of land. I'm sure it wasn't this way in the olden days. Look at these angular buttresses. Never seen anyone like that. There you get a great view of the countryside. I'll zoom out there for you. Interesting. Oh, there he is. There's our friend. He's hunched over there. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He won't look at us. All right, well, that was fun. Hope you enjoyed this little bit of history out in the English countryside. Catch you on the next one, and stay safe. Stay with me. We got more here in England, and then up to Scotland, and then Northern Scotland, the Orkneys. Let's go.